Welcome in to the I-80 Boys podcast. I am your co-host, Chris Vaca, and this asshat over here, I got it right halfway, is...
I am your co-host, allegedly, the much younger, probably more beefcake version than that guy over there, that old geriatric-looking fuck. I am Christian Hunt.
All right. Well, Christian, how the hell you been, man, since some of these spring games? How you feeling? You excited about the upcoming, college football season, which seems like a mile away, but really it isn't too damn bad?
Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited. I've been pretty good, just kind of dissecting a lot of good football over the last couple of weeks, man. It kind of transported me back to simpler, better times, which is, well, just any time there's college football, really.
Oh shit, 100%, man. I know. I'm excited, man, especially watching the spring games, a couple of them this last weekend or whatever. And, we've obviously been doing our research and following along with different teams and all that. So what are we getting into today, man?
So we're going to break down some of the spring games, some of the more notable ones that there's been a lot of storylines kind of surrounding here. So I think first up, we're going to take a look at Ohio State in their spring game that they just had. Chris, what are your kind of thoughts on, the Buckeyes?
I thought it looked all right. I mean, I guess it was pretty much what I expected. Now I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't get to watch a lot of that game, so I don't want to sit here and act like I'm an expert or anything like that. But, I watched quarter and a half, and it looked like what I thought it was going to be from Ohio State. Right. I mean, Ryan Day, I don't think that, they're not going to show a lot, played a lot of freshmen, some of the walk-ons, especially in the second half. I guess, Ohio State, I thought looked decent. I mean, I don't get too hyped up. I don't think you're the same way when it comes to, or you are the same way when it comes to spring games, right? I mean, we got 4 months yet before the season starts. You want to get everybody out there, kind of want to see what the offense is going to look like, see the effort of the kids, throw a few wrinkles in here and there and see how the kids react to it. But I mean, Ohio State just seems to me like it had been in the driver's seat for the most part in the Big Ten the last 10 years. And, I know Michigan's got the better of them the last two, Christian, but what did you think, man?
Well, I think the big thing with it is the quarterback competition between McCord and Brown is just getting, it's just now starting to heat up a little bit. Devin Brown obviously didn't play in that game. I think he was a scratch before the game due to injury, so they wanted to kind of keep an eye on that. Quite a few receivers didn't play either, so it's kind of hard to really gauge where that offense was really at. And how well they can operate too. So the O-line also looked like they kind of struggled as well. So, it's kind of a toss up there, right? I mean, the defense, and that's kind of been their big knock on it. We've talked about that a lot. They did look better. Granted, we just talked about some of the reasons why they might have looked better there. But I do want to see in particular a little bit more depth at the defensive line spot. That's going to start to be a lot more critical for Ohio State later on in games, and especially later on in the season. You got to have that depth there, right? If you want to compete for championships and get back to winning against Michigan.
Yeah, no, I will say that. And like I said, I know quite a few players didn't play. So it's hard to get a full, I guess, assessment of, from some of the other teams in the spring games that we're going to talk about here shortly too. But their line of scrimmage, I think, is going to be solid. It usually is. I think they need a little bit more consistency up front as far as like what we saw last year here and there. They were banged up, had some injuries up front, but I think that'll be a big key with them. Figuring out the run game, I guess, with Ohio State. No CJ Stroud, right, Christian? So yeah, that quarterback controversy is going to be probably pretty heated. Like you said, we didn't see the controversy out there on the field with God. What'd you say? What's the other? I know McCord's the other one. What's the heck's the other kid's name that didn't play?
Devin Brown.
Brown. Okay, sorry, excuse me. So like he didn't get out there and play, but I mean, so it's kind of like Nebraska in that way too. We didn't get to see everybody's fan favorite, including me over here with what's his bucket playing this weekend. But here's the thing, man. With Ohio State, I think we're touching on the just spring game. I thought their secondary looked solid. That was probably their weakest point last year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like I said, it's hard to assess the spring game, and I know they had a lot of bits and pieces missing from this spring game. So I guess I can't. They're one of the teams that was really hard about the spring games. Like they just had so many people not playing. They didn't have their top end receivers out there. You didn't have one of your quarterbacks, competing for the job. So overall, though, I thought it was Ohio State. I mean, it's Ohio State. I guess they're just one of those teams I think they're going to lock and reload every freaking year right now. Ryan Day has done a pretty damn good job over there, Christian. I know we've knocked on him about not being able to win the big game when needed, but it's only been a couple years under him right now, and you can't. I just can't give them a full assessment as far as like this season's going to go. And I know you didn't ask that question, but it's one of those things with Ohio State.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of where they go. I mean, they're going to have to get both these guys back in the fold and really figure it out. Looks like they're going to be carrying this competition like some of these other teams we're going to get ready to talk about well into the fall here. So next up on the list, we've got Georgia, my Georgia Bulldogs right here, right? Chris, what are your thoughts on the Bulldogs?
I thought they looked pretty freaking good. I thought the QB controversy down there is going to be a little bit real this year too. I'm not 100% sold on one guy, to be honest with you. I thought everybody looked good at Georgia. I actually think Georgia's going to have, like, I know me and you have had this discussion several times off air, on air, about Georgia's preseason, or as far as coming into the season, what we think. But no, I thought they looked good, dude. Both sides of the ball. I think you guys have lost a lot of pieces. I'm going to just say the last 2 years, which are your national title years, Christian. I think you know this. You guys lost some people to transfer portal too as well. But I just don't see Kirby Smart and just his mentality. I thought you guys looked really good. I really, truly believe that. Like, I was actually very impressed. One of the spring games I watched that I was very impressed. Maybe you have a different take on that, Christian. I'd like to hear what you have to say about your Bulldogs.
Well, thank you very much, by the way. Put some respect on the back-to-back champion there. Yeah. No, I called you, and I was really hyped about it. After kind of going back and kind of watching some more of it, look, Carson Beck, he's going to be the heir apparent to the mailman, Stetson Bennett, all right? He looked like he was a surgeon out there, right? He was picking apart that defense precisely. He just did a fantastic job. To me, what made this even better, Chris, was most of the running backs were really beat up. We were going with true freshmen, walk-ons, out there at the running back spot, and he still looked good, right? So to me, that just tells me we don't have a game manager here either, right? We got somebody that can kind of step up and really lead, by example there, which is something I really like. One big question mark that I've kind of got here is defense, man. The defense, in particular, more importantly, the secondary, got exposed at times. Now, it kind of reminded me a little bit of that Ohio State game, right? Which was a little more 7-on-7 like.
Yeah.
To me, mainly it was some of the 2s and 3s. So a lot of the young guys who don't have a ton of experience at this level yet.
Right. And that's where I want to interject here. That's what I was going to come with, is like, when I watched, I didn't watch all the game, but I watched most of it, especially when Beck was in there, and he looked awesome. I'm not sold that he's the guy yet. I think he will be personally, but I don't think George is going to let that out there. Maybe they already have, but I think there's plenty of months here to improve or whatever and figure out what you want to do. But yeah, you guys got Browers coming back, and McConkley, how do you say his name there? He's a damn good receiver, been around a while. You guys are loaded on the offensive side of the ball for the most part. And yeah, I know some of your studs didn't play at running back, and I guess it doesn't really. I mean, we know that fucking Georgia is NFLU far as running backs go, right? I mean, they put some studs out in the NFL the last 10 years or 12 years, so I know that they're going to be great there. Secondary, yeah, a little questionable, but I was going to get to that, and I guess that was my point when I interrupted you. There was like a lot of those guys I thought were third string guys. I mean, for the most part, tough to cover a senior out there that's been playing for 3-4 years too, dude, on some of those touchdown passes by Beck, and he did look good. Beck looks like the starter to me personally, but I mean, it's Georgia, dude. I mean, Kirby Smart, man. I think he is. If he isn't the best coach in college football, man, he's second. That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Like I said, they looked really dominant, and I liked what I saw. Just need to clean some stuff up in the back end there in the secondary. All right, you asked for it, so we're going to give it to you here. This is a game we covered, and we had a couple of 2-hour long, full game here, and that's a little bit of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So, Chris, you're a Nebraska fan. I mean, they're back, kind of.
Yeah. Again, you know me, Christian. I'm gonna ramble on here a little bit. This is one team I can't talk about. Overall, I thought, I've heard a lot of chatter since Saturday from multiple people I know that are Nebraska fans, and some people, the fucking turnovers were garbage. Very boring game. I guess my opinion is this. I mean, I didn't expect a ton. More than anything, like I said, even on the pod, is that all I expected. I wanted to see effort, Christian. That checked the box. I thought the kids played hard in previous years. I truly believe that. And the other big question was to me, what offense are you going to implement as in Matt Rule? Are we going to go back to some smash mouth football? I talked about it a ton, this weekend, and I thought he did that. Now I know it's a spring game. I know everybody wants to see that. Hopefully he's not just doing it for shits and giggles, but I thought the effort was good. And then my other question was, and I wish we could have got to see Casey Thompson play. I think that was most fans, were really hoping that he could have gotten out there, but with the injury and everything else, he was our starting quarterback. If you guys don't know, last year, transfer from Texas, but compete against Jeff Sims, who transferred over from Georgia Tech. The most impressive thing I saw all day was Jeff Sims. That kid's a starting quarterback in this league. I hope it's for us in a way now, because I'm kind of starting to change my mind after I saw him prove to me that he can throw a football on a rope, and he threw some dimes, Christian. I think me and you both agree he played really well. We know how dynamic of an athlete he is back there, but I was really, really impressed. And there is a legitimate, I mean, you said it. We had a hot take about this, I believe, the quarterback controversy at Nebraska. It's real. I didn't think it was real when we talked about it. After seeing this, I know it's not fair to Casey, but damn, dude, he looked really good. And he threw some really nice passes, stood in the pocket, set his feet, delivered a couple dimes. And I know it's just a spring game. I get that. I get all that, but very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you said it exactly right. I mean, Children of the Corn, he pointed out, the defense switched back to the 3-3-5. Linebackers and ends, they were tearing heads off. And that's kind of one of the points I'm going to get to here in just a second. I mean, I want to talk about Jeff Sims, all right? First of all, he showed me he was willing to compete, and he's still competing for this. Big thing that I gained out of this was you guys really have three quarterbacks, I think, that could win you some games. I mean, Casey Thompson, he proved it last year. Jeff Sims, I think, showed me something there. And Heinrich Harburg, he did a great job at certain moments leading some stuff there. So he showed me a lot. I love seeing the fullback dive. Seeing a fullback on the field in general, great thing to see. So the big thing for me, I want to see some of those turnovers cleaned up. That's a huge part of this. Now, especially quarterback center exchanges, huge thing right there. We've kind of touched on that. It's really hard in today's age when you kind of you're brought up and you're in the shotgun majority of the time. So when you get under center and you start having some of those, exchanges, we just really need to get that cleaned up. And I think more so than that too, there was a couple of young guys that haven't really played a lot. They got in there and they made some catches and the ball started kind of popping loose. So just little things we kind of have to get figured out, right? I really like that, they're going to run a good mix of this pro offense, right? So they're going to get under center, run the ball down your throat, and then the very next play, they're going to go no huddle, get back on the ball, spread it out, and run an RPO. And to me, that's when you start to become very dangerous. You can start mixing tempos, start running different schemes, and it becomes very, very difficult to stop that. Now, getting on to what I think is one of the most improved areas of this team from last year is the defense. I mean, overall, the defense looked much better. I thought the tackling, night and day different. Yeah, open field tackling especially. They bent a lot. I mean, I don't know how many times it felt like they were, they let you get inside the 30-yard line. But once you got inside the 30-yard line, they made you earn every yard, it seemed like. They bent, but they didn't break. Man, Chris, they've got some dogs, all right, and some depth finally on that defensive line. They've got Elijah Judy. They've got Maverick Noonan, who's a true freshman. Prince Will, I'm just going to say his first name there. Prince Will, that number 55, he was around the ball.
All over the place, yeah.
Every time I looked up. So that's awesome, right? They're gonna be consistently making plays. And these are some young guys. So they've got some time to kind of to really develop and really grow.
Yeah, no, I think you touched on it here, and I'll wrap it up real quick with Nebraska. No, I was very impressed. I know a lot of people, for the most part, were happy. You know what I mean? There was like Children of the Corn said, we had a hell of an attendance there. We always do for spring games. I think even more so just because the Matt Rule era, start now after the last debacle of a season last year with the head coaching, gigs that we've had, or I shouldn't say gigs, but jobs that we've had there. Overall, we look good, man. And, the defense has tightened up really in the second half. And that's kind of what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see a 40-40 game, Christian. That means to me, either it's a fucking track meet, and I didn't want to see a 7-7 game either. I was impressed with both sides. The starters on defense look great. We saw a lot of the names out there. Nebraska put a lot of people, like a lot of their ones and twos, were in the game, weren't injured, actually played, other than maybe Casey Thompson. I think Xavier Betts, I think he got hurt right away, other than that, or one of our stud wide receivers. But other than that, I mean, it was everybody, they competed, and they played a lot of the starters, Christian, switched sides a little bit, in the fourth quarter even, which was good to see. I mean, I like that guys were getting reps out there, full game reps, and it was a good spring game. Like I said, it's nothing like, I don't know how you like hype up a spring game and base your whole, your season's going to be off of that. But I thought overall Nebraska actually had one of the better spring games that I did watch this weekend.
Yeah, and you're right. Wrapping it up here, Children of the Corn said 7-6 record. I'm a little higher on them. Like I said, I think 8-9 wins in the realistic realm of possibilities for them. So, right.
Yeah, I think most of Nebraska will take a 6-win season, but I have them pegged right around 8.
There you go. So, all right, you ready to jump into Texas here, Chris?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go here, Christian. I want to hear your thoughts first on Texas. I know we. You know a lot about your boy down there, and I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I feel like we kind of touched on this a lot, and that was, Quinn Ewers and Malik Murphy, they balled out, and they showed me a lot in that game. They're the number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks, respectfully. Here's the thing. Arch Manning, he did exactly what I more or less expected him to do in that game, right? And that is, he struggled a little bit, man. He struggled. He needs time to develop. And I'm not saying that and I don't think we are going to say that he can't play at this level because of a bad spring game, right?
Right.
But he just needs more time to get used to this level of competition. I mean, we've talked about that. You can go back and check out other episodes we've done. To me, he's going to need a lot more time to kind of really marinate and get better at this level. And I don't think, barring some catastrophes, I don't think he's going to see very much of the field this year. I think another big thing too is the receiving core. They looked pretty good. I mean, that receiving core looked pretty amazing. The defense looked improved as well. They were getting after him all day.
I'm going to interject here, and that was my one. I had this wrote down over here from Texas's game from what I saw. Is it the defense though to you, Christian, or I thought the offensive line looked a little sus. I mean, what were your take there, or your take?
I thought it was. I think part of it is I think it's some of the depth pieces there. The offensive line looked a little bit right. So I mean, I think that's part of it. That definitely plays into it, but still all right that they were able to get some pressure. On my end, right? I think you said it best, right? It's not necessarily that maybe. I'll give them a half and half, right? I'll say half of it was the offensive line, half of it was they were getting after him.
Okay. Do they pass the eye test so far for a spring game? I guess my question to you. They do for me, but barely. I wasn't overly hyped on their spring game. I thought there were some question marks here and there, just like you could say about anybody. But Texas, I expected probably just a little bit more personally. But I mean, do they pass the eye test for a spring game for me? Do they for you?
I think so for right now. I mean, considering what's kind of out there in the Big 12 and who they're going to play a lot of, I really think it's favorable for them. Yeah, they passed the eye test. I think some major question marks that they had going into it, they got sorted out.
Okay, all right. And we'll probably talk about them again here in a few weeks. Yeah. I can see this coming up.
So, all righty then, Chris. You ready to jump into Bama? You ready? The last two here is going to probably fuck some people up.
And this is what I was waiting for when I saw this on the fucking sheet today. I was pumped. I'm going to start off. I was pretty high on Bama this year, right? What I saw in that spring game, I'm just giving you an honest opinion, and I'll admit when I'm wrong, was pretty much trash from the QB position. Both those guys sucked. Milroe, we saw play last year, sparingly. I think he played against A&M. I think he started that whole game with Bryce Young being hurt, and then he came in another game, if I'm not mistaken. I was like, you know what, man, I'll give this guy another year. I mean, I get it. He was young last year. You get a whole offseason off, under your belt. I don't know, man. It didn't look good. It didn't look good at all. What's his bucket? The second, I can't remember his fucking name. He didn't look any better. Now they look better in the second half, but I think that was against 2s and 3s, maybe 3s and 4s, Christian. And I'm still not convinced that either of those two can throw an accurate ball at all. You know what I mean? I mean, Milroe is a hell of an athlete, but this is where I'm really focused on in the spring game. I mean, I don't think Bama's got a fucking quarterback, and that is shocking to me coming from guys like Bryce Young. I'm throwing the fucking DEFCON 5 alert right here for Bama because it's like I was super high on them. And I might have to knock them down a peg or two as far as my ratings go coming up to the real season coming up here. But I mean, goddamn, dude, Nick Saban without a quarterback, when you've had guys like Bryce Young, Jalen Hurts, and Tua in there, and these guys just don't look like they can throw a fucking ball, dude. And then if they do throw a good ball, the receivers drop it. So, and when have we not seen a good receiver at Bama, dude? I know I'm getting a little rowdy, a little fired up here, but I'm like really disappointed. They did not pass the eye test, if that was a question to me. I mean, they look like shit.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. By the way, we put a bet on this. So the bet was Bama. If Bama finished inside of the top 4, I owe you a bottle. If they don't, you owe me a bottle. So I think I'm going to do my
right now. What do you need?
Yes. we'll sit down. We'll take a look at it there. Maybe a little Pappy Van Winkle would be good. So. No, look, Chris, you said it pretty much really, really well there. I think I told you so, man. I mean, look, quarterback play looked like shit. That was a big question mark for me. We talked about it on the podcast well before the spring game kicked off. And listen, I don't want to hear, some of the Bama fans jumping in there in the comments saying about how elite the defense is, all right, because they're losing a perennial all-star team on that side of the ball to the draft, all right? And most likely they're going to be pretty young in certain spots with the depth. Okay. So they're going to be really young in a lot of the spots there. And some of the depth behind them is going to be super young too. Look at, I don't know, Texas A&M last year and tell me how that played out for them.
Oof.
So
yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's why I got so super fired up when this was a topic today. Cause like what I saw, I was just like, fucking Saban ain't got a quarterback. Like anybody back there that can fucking play? They're going to have to find somebody in the fucking transfer portal, bro.
You said it exactly right though, man. I mean, look, it's bad when the rumors are coming out that you're allegedly tampering with Miami quarterback Tyler Van Dyke, who's, by the way, since reported he's staying at Miami.
So I would assume those rumors are probably true after seeing what I saw so far. I hate to say that.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say this. I mean, you said it best. 2 drops were a problem last year. It looks like that trend is going to continue this year, Chris. I mean, they're really talented on both sides of the ball, but they're also really young on both sides of the ball. So, and I know some people are going to say, well, we've got a senior this really, really young just overall as a team. So I think they take a step back. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see kind of what Bama does this year.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up real quick, Christian, because I'm just like, I was very, very shocked that the quarterback play didn't improve, and I'm speaking about Moreau. I thought he's a guy that I thought like under Saban and under that coaching staff, they would have got him kind of, in line for what they want to run. And Jesus, man, I'm pretty sure he had more interceptions than completions in the first half. It was just, I know it's a spring game. I know. I don't want everybody in the comment, oh, it's just a spring. I get that, but it obviously means something to you. So it means something to the program. Otherwise, it wouldn't have the damn things. It wouldn't be played. It's just, man, I'm just really shocked. If I think that Bama's going to finish and win the SEC this year, holy shit. They got 3 months to turn it around, Christian. It's going to have to be a big turnaround because if you don't have a quarterback, Christian, we know this in college football, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. There's some other points that we're going to kind of talk about this and where I think this transfer portal is kind of going to. Like, we're going to talk about it here because we're getting ready to talk about Colorado. But to me, one of the big things that nobody really talks about is you can recruit these cats. You can get them out of the transfer portal, but the season is getting ready to come upon us, right? There's not a whole lot of time to be able to practice and to do all this stuff and gel together as a team. And I'm going to touch a little more on that here in just a bit. But yeah, you're exactly right.
Are we getting into the hot topic here? The one that that's just flooding the internet today and yesterday?
Let's do it a little bit here, man. Let's jump into a little bit of Colorado spring game. Let's get some people fired up, Chris. What are you thinking there, brother?
Okay. I'm speaking from some of the shit I've seen in the comments, and I don't get too hyped up about what people say. It's all love over here. We give honest assessments, by the way, Christian. We said that before we ever started this podcast. So I'm not. Now, I will say Colorado is one of my arch rivals. I grew up in the Big 12, right? We all know the Colorado-Nebraska days in the 90s. I grew up with that. But I like Deion Sanders. I think he can really relate to kids nowadays, which I think is a huge, huge staple, especially in the college landscape nowadays as far as college football and how much it's changed with NIL. If anybody can market themselves, it's Deion Sanders. He did it back with your Falcons. We remember that, right? Playing baseball, two-sport athlete, guy's a fucking stud. I don't have to run through his resume here. What I saw, though, I wasn't impressed. I wasn't. Does he have some athletes out there? 100%, especially in the skill positions. His son, Shedeur Sanders, probably going to be a really good quarterback. He's going to put up some impressive numbers. But the line is small. Now I'm going to piss people off, right, Christian? We heard a lot about how, we don't know what the hell we're talking about. The black jerseys. Oh, my God, dude. And I think I'm going to let you touch on this here in a second. But I felt like the spring game for them, it was great that they sold out. That's probably the most fucking fans they've had in a stadium at one time since 96 for a spring game. But I felt like it was too much it's almost too much for me. It was all about Deion, and it wasn't enough about the program. And you know what I'm saying, Christian? It was always, he's got the cowboy hat on, the shades, and, they did all these pressers. And, man, that's great. And it is. It's awesome. And that's good for Colorado, and I think it's good for the Pac-12. I really do. But from what matters the most is what the product on the field. I didn't see enough. I looked like some of the plays were almost scripted to a point where the defense allowed them to score. And what was the final score, Christian? It was 40. Damn, it was a high-scoring game.
Yeah, it was ridiculously high scoring too. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, not that impressed. There was some nice plays. Travis Hunter looks like a stud, but we expected that, right? So nothing new there. I wasn't impressed with the defensive side of the ball at all. And I'm going to say it again. I don't care who I piss off. They look fucking small. They don't. When you run into USC in Oregon, in fucking TCU, Utah, they're going to get mollywopped, bro. Just because of the physical style of play that those teams have, and not only have juniors, seniors, guys have been around a while. This team was 1-11 last year, Christian, and you know this, and I'm not yelling at you. I'm not trying to yell at my computer or my room in here. It's just, God damn, man, some of the people in that state, and I don't know if it's just that fan base. You guys won one game last year. I don't know if Deion Sanders is a really good coach yet. I don't. It's going to take him 3 to 4 years. And it's not going to happen this year. You guys should be happy if you get 4 or 5 wins with that schedule you have. And I'm saying this as a Nebraska fan, and that's where that's coming from. We haven't been relevant either. I'll be the first to admit it. But goddamn, man, if I hear one more comment about how we're going 10-2 next year from Colorado, what planet are you living on, man? And I'm going to drop it and leave it at that. Chris, I'm going to let you take over this segment because I know you have a lot of the same feelings I do on this topic.
You're absolutely right. I mean, listen, if you pissed him off, I'm gonna probably cause him to really go to town in the comment section. Let me help do this, okay? Let me help put a lot of what you're gonna go ahead and say in the comment section to bed here, okay? Shedeur looked good, right? He looked good. Travis Hunter, he balled out. I'll give you that. The MVP, but here's where we start kind of record scratching, and we're gonna go the other way a little bit. The MVP of that game was Montana Lamonius Craig. Jumped in the transfer portal immediately, right? Unexpectedly. And I know that people are going to come in and say, it's all part of the plan, right? This is not part of the so-called plan, as you're going to inevitably say in the comments here, okay? What I watched on Saturday was a glorified 7-on-7 game of epic proportions. Just no defense was absolutely played in that game.
Preach.
Yes, I understand that Deion said that the team that we just saw play is not going to be the same one that's going to be playing against TCU. But you have until the 30th, okay, April 30th, to start getting depth on that defensive line, okay? Is the portal's getting ready to close, man. I mean, they can pull from wherever, but if they haven't gotten somebody yet, what are we doing? And what the fuck are we doing? Here's the thing, and here's really where it's getting to. They need to start getting these guys on campus and practicing as soon as possible so they can start gelling together as a team. All right? I mean, here's the reality. If they're losing certain players, you know, they're losing certain players that they didn't want to lose. It's not part of that plan, right? I understand a lot of the guys, they're trying to get under the scholarship limit so they can keep recruiting and keep pulling this and then keep doing that. And I understand that. Some of these guys were not guys they wanted to lose. That was not part of the plan there, right? They lost certain pieces that were just great depth players for them. I think where all this ultimately boils down to, Chris, Deion is like any other coach in America, right? He's all about controlling the narrative. What coach in America, like I thought about it this morning, right? I was driving to work. If I was a boxer, let's say, right, and I'm getting ready to go fight somebody, big matchup, right, for the world title, I would be a fucking moron if I came out and said, I think that guy's going to beat my ass. You know what I mean? Deion's not going to come out and say, nope, we really didn't want all of those guys to jump in the portal. We kind of, you know, he's about promoting. He's going to tell you what he wants you to hear. He's always going to be in control, right? Here's the reality of it. I'm not hating on him, and I don't think you're hating on him either. But rather, when we're eventually proved to be right, okay, that they are at best a 4 to 5 win team this year, we're just saying this is a starting point for them. Okay, I do think that in a couple of years, they will be a contender on the national stage. And I'm not saying they're going to a national championship, but I do think they'll be nationally relevant, more so than just a spring game because Deion's the coach and because you got 2 5-star players on your roster. I just think if you expect them to go 10-2 this year, you're going to be sadly mistaken. I want to do this because I know where this is going, and I hope you're watching this far when we clip this out, okay? Because I know what you're going to say. They got people coming. I saw somebody say they got defensive linemen coming. Let me show you the fucking defensive linemen you got coming. This is all the people you've gotten to this point right here. So just remember, all those wide receivers and defensive backs you guys let go of, this is what's coming in as of right now. Yeah, you got Cormani McClain, number 1 cornerback. I'll give you that. A solid piece right there. Dylan Edwards, number 7 running back, really solid piece. Adam Hopkins, that's a really great piece. I don't disagree with that. You know, you've got Omarion Miller, great piece there. And then we start getting down here. We got number 1 offensive tackle from junior college, 3-star recruit. Okay, I'll give that one to you. Oh, here we go. Who's that? Tajay McCoy, defensive end, 6'3". What was that say? 240 pounds?
Yeah.
Now, Chris, somebody said to me that they're all, 300 plus pounds. Now, I'm not a genius, but I do know that most of these recruiting services and most of these websites, you can lie. So you can add weight. Most of the people do. If I'm 6'2", 220 pounds, well, guess what? Now I'm 6'4", 260 pounds, right?
Yeah, I mean, you claim to be 300, but on camera you look like you're 350. So here we are.
299. So, like I said, I understand why they're getting rid of, some of these wide receivers and some of these cornerbacks. And okay, so that's great. But again, everything I'm seeing right now is they've assembled a 7-on-7 team, right? No linemen, nothing like that. So let's keep scrolling down here. All right, you got the number 3 guard. Good pickup. I'll give you that. 305 pounds. Again, that's for a guard. That's pretty good. Center right there, 6'3", 275. It's all right. Tackle, 6'8", 330 pounds. That's pretty good. He's played at this level. So this is where
300 pounds when you're 6'8".
Yeah. Well, this is, we're getting to the transfers now here. So these are people that have actually supposedly played at this level. We got Taj Alston. Okay. 6'4", 255. He ain't playing defensive tackle for you. He ain't nowhere near 300 pounds. Shane Cokes, 6'3", 275. He ain't playing defensive tackle for you. Marshawn Nealon, 6'3", 275. Western Michigan University. I'm pretty sure Western Michigan's in a worse conference than Colorado is, right?
You are correct.
Jordan Dominic, 6'3", 251 pounds. All right, he's out of Arkansas, so I'll give you that. 6'3", 251. And lastly, Taylor Upshaw out of Michigan, 6'4", 262. Where's the defensive tackle that's 300 pounds that's going to be able to logjam people when they start running the ball?
There's not one. That's the problem. These people that we're talking about, and like I said, I'm gonna piggyback right off what you said, Christian. I don't know what fucking planet you're living on. Let's be realistic here. Was Colorado, Christian, in your opinion, last year? I'm gonna ask you this, and I'll ask this same fan base that keeps harassing us about this stuff. Was Colorado probably not the worst team in the Power 5 last year, Christian? Would you put them right there?
I would say yeah. Yeah, they were.
Okay. It's Deion Sanders' first year. He's not going to get all the players. And Deion, you touched on it 100%, and you made like a great – I hope you clip that because it's exactly right. He's going to control the narrative. He's going to say what he wants you to hear. That's all this is, man. And it's none of us thought that Colorado was going to be trash this year. I don't think we're saying that. I think we're actually relatively high, or I had even higher expectations than you do for him, Christian. I still do. But you're also playing against schools. Look at the goddamn schedule and look at these schools that you're playing against. And look at that spring game, Christian. You said it. There was no defense in that game. That was a glorified track meet Saturday. That's what it was. And I'm going to leave it right there. I don't care what anybody says. Open your eyes. Watch the damn game. Even if you're a Colorado fan and you're a diehard, I love that you are. I love that all of us love our schools. Everybody that's tuning into this or watching, we all have our schools, and everybody wants your school to win, Christian. But reality is reality, and it's like, there's no goddamn way. I don't care if they had fucking Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Dabo Swinney on the same goddamn coaching staff. This team is not going 10-2 or 11-1 like I keep hearing. It's not going to happen. That's it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, you said it. You said it exactly right. I think that's a good place to kind of end our little rant on Colorado here. I mean, Chris, I know you get really fired up about it, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. But you know what else you get really fired up about, Chris?
It's got to be that hot take.
A little bit of a hot take, right?
All right.
So our hot take for today is Texas A&M wins the SEC West. Chris, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, here's the deal. What'd they go, 5-7 last year? Didn't make a bowl game under Jimbo?
That is correct.
I mean, did they not have the number one recruiting class last year, Christian?
They absolutely did.
Pretty shitty year for Texas A&M fans and Texas A&M as a whole last year. Mm-hmm. Now, we got the schedule pulled up. Quarterback play. I can't think of their quarterback. It's Cody somebody. I can't think of his last name. Starts with a W. He looked pretty good last year when they brought him in at the end of the year. I think he threw for about 1,000 yards before he threw an interception. The kid looked pretty decent. I did not catch the spring game, so I don't know. But there is no way, in my opinion, that Jimbo Fisher can have another year like he had last year. I don't think that. But what I will say is, you look at the schedule here, and we'll just run through it really quick on my end. Miami, not worried about that. But you get into that deep inside that SEC schedule here where you got Auburn, Arkansas, Bama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and then LSU at the end of the year. I don't think there's any way they're going to win that this year. I know we just talked about Alabama, and I was pretty high on Bama. I'm still not sure what the fuck to think about them yet, Christian. Is there a chance? Yeah, there's a chance. It is Jimbo Fisher. I still think Jimbo Fisher is still a good coach. You know, we all remember him from the FSU days with Jameis Winston, one of those prolific offenses. I believe they scored, I swear to God, it was like 50 points a game that year. The guy can coach. I know he knows what he's doing. He's getting paid a shit ton at A&M. I don't see them, and Children of the Corn says 6 wins. I think they get more than 6 wins for sure. I just don't know. We said, hey, I'm just going to answer the hot take question here. Does Texas A&M win the SEC West? No, they don't. Christian, I'll kick it over to you. It looks like you got a few things you want to say here. I know you're a stat whore. You're going to bury me in something. What do you got, buddy?
Fuck no.
I do that.
No, they don't. Listen, you don't need stats for this. Well, I do have some stats for you, by the way, but I'll get into that here in a second. Yeah, they were an extremely young team last year, both sides of the ball. They were, like you said, came off having one of the best recruiting class. Arguably, it was the greatest recruiting class of all time, according to a lot of people. Yeah, all right. So, look, I think they're going to be better this year. I mean, they have to be better just by talent and they just have to be better this year, right? For their standards, you can't do that. You can't pay a coach all those millions of dollars and be as high profile of a guy like Jimbo Fisher and do all that stuff and not produce. It just will not happen. He was on the hot seat last year. If you replicate that, 6-7 wins this year, chances are he might be looking for another job come the end of the next year. But really, go ahead.
No, just interject. I was thinking, God, I could double hot take this. If he doesn't make a bowl game this year, is he gone?
Yeah, I think he is. I know some people might jump on and say, no, there's no way. Listen, you don't pay a guy that much damn money as a high-profile coach.
The way he recruits.
And, there was rumors about him being on the hot seat last year in the middle of the season. You start having 2 seasons like that, they want to start seeing something. I mean, look, the quarterback battle, right? They've got a quarterback battle going on right now, right? They need to have the right man behind center, okay? Because it's between Connor Weigman and Max Johnson, the LSU transfer.
Yes.
I mean, they've been searching for a solid option at quarterback ever since Kellen Mond left for the NFL. So
100%. 100%. Here's the thing, Christian. Sorry, I'll kick it back over to you. Is it possible they don't win 6 games? Do you, or you know what I mean? Or do you, maybe you said that already, maybe I missed it, but they got to be better this year, right? I mean, they have to be, right? I mean, there's no way they don't win 6 games, right? Or is there a way that they go 5-7 again?
Oh, there's a way. There is a way that they don't win 6 games this year.
And it's schedule. The schedule isn't brutal. I mean, it's not easy.
Well, let's stop right here for just a second. You got Mario Cristobal over at Miami, and the game's at Miami. Tyler Van Dyke staying there, man. They very well could beat Texas A&M. Auburn with Hugh Freeze coming in. I don't know how good Auburn's going to be this year, but you never know. So Arkansas's got Sam Pittman, and they've got KJ Jefferson back there at quarterback. So that could be interesting. Alabama. I mean, I know we just sat there and bashed on Alabama for God only knows how long, but look, it's still Bama. That's always a great game. It depends. It depends on what goes on under center by that point, right? Tennessee, I think Tennessee will light them up. South Carolina, I'm high on some South Carolina this year, Chris. Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I mean, I think Mississippi State, Abilene Christian, those are they should win those games.
LSU's will be a loss, though.
LSU's a lot. There's a chance they come out of this 4 or 5 wins, dude.
Man, I guess now that you kind of break it down, sure, like that. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to win a couple of those games, but man, I don't. Now that I really look at it, it's like not changing my take here. A&M though to me is. God, it's like the team you keep hearing about every year that's supposed to be, competing for that title, and it just doesn't happen. It just seems like every year there's something. Jimbo's talking shit to fucking Nick Saban. You know what I mean? The guy. And I'm thinking, well, what? What leg do you got to stand on other than the one national title you had at FSU, man? Like, it's like you got to start eventually. You got to back up what you got, man. And last year I think it had to be a major disappointment for A&M fans. And I'm not knocking A&M fans. I'm not. You guys got a great fan base there, 100%. But it's just like, damn. When you guys going to finally get it done? Is this year, Christian? I don't think this is the year. I don't. If they come out with an 8 or 9 win season, maybe upset an LSU or knock off a Bama or a Tennessee, run something off maybe. But like you said, they are a young team. So I can give them that. This isn't a veteran-laden team by any means.
Well, and here's the other side of it, right? It's going to be really hard with LSU and Ole Miss. They've got really explosive offenses, right? So the big thing I want to see for them, I want to see their offense take some major steps forward this year, right? It's going to be really tough for them, though, Chris, too, because they also lost a shit ton in the transfer portal this offseason.
Okay.
Before Colorado, they at one point led the country in players transferring out of that program.
Wow.
They were up to, I think, like 30-something. It was crazy.
I got to ask this question. With Colorado, we didn't talk much about transfers leaving. As of today, They had 15 leave after that spring game. And we just talked about A&M here losing a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Is this because kids are so soft nowadays, they can't be told no and they have to maybe sit behind somebody because they're not playing right away and they don't want to work hard enough? And or is this just kids who just see the writing on the wall and say, and maybe it's both, see the writing on the wall and say, fuck it. I'm just, this program sucks. It stinks. They're not going anywhere.
Let me throw a third option out there at you. I'm a really highly touted recruit. I go sit a year at Ohio State. Right? I get a bag in NIL money, right? So I get a bunch of money for NIL just to go sit at Ohio State. I put my name in the transfer portal and I go jump over to Texas and I go become the quarterback at Texas. All of a sudden I start making a lot more money. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, sounds like a guy we know.
Now, not everybody's doing that, but a lot of these kids are doing that, right? A lot of them are, they're going places, they're chasing, where they want to go, or they're chasing the money, and then they either transfer out to where they ultimately want to go, or vice versa. They're going to where they want to go, and then I just saw that happen. Big Bear Alexander. I don't know if he made he was at Georgia, right? He left Georgia after winning a national championship and was guaranteed probably a very, very bright future as a dog defensive lineman in the NFL. Well, he just bolted and committed to USC ultimately because he knew somebody would pay him.
No, and that's a good point. I didn't bring that up either, but it is a good point. It's something we could probably do a whole fucking segment on about NIL, but it just amazes me where this has become now with A&M. A lot of these teams, you see a ton of movement, right? Colorado right now with a high name coach. Everybody's trying to get a bag, man. And that's what it kind of looks like. And it sucks because what it's become is NFL free agency. That's what I can compare it to, test the waters here, they're going to give me this. Now I'm going to go kind of fuck around with this team a little bit. And they might give me that, and I don't blame a kid for getting their money. I think college has benefited a long time from kids, building up their brand. I get that, but they got to put a cap on it at some point because now this is becoming, you got kids out there making millions of dollars and never thrown a fucking college pass yet. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Damn.
I wonder what my evaluation would probably be. Cornerback. No,
Well,
listen, I think
man. I'll leave it at that.
I'll say one last thing about them, about Texas A&M. Look, I think they're better, and they're better than what they were last year. They do have a good chance to make a push for the SEC West, but I doubt that they're going to have the depth to win what's going to be a loaded SEC West this year, dude.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Christian. I think we're kind of on the same page with these guys this year, but like I said, I mean, anything can happen in college football, Christian. We've seen it. I think Jimbo's still a good coach. If I think he had a down year. I mean, you can't kill a guy for, he just better back up what he says, though. That's where I'm at with that guy. He talks a lot of shit. At some point, man, you're either about it or you're not. So I think that's kind of it's a put up or shut up year for Texas A&M.
No, you're exactly right, Chris. So I think that brings us to a pretty good stopping point on today's show. I mean, again, we're going to be back at it again. The push for 500 is on right now. Yes. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers. So again, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. It would go a long way with us. But we'll be back again on Friday, I believe, live at around 7-ish, 7:30-ish, somewhere in there. So we look forward to seeing you all then.
Peace.